electric guitars, the relationship between the guitar and the amplifier has the biggest effect on what kind of sound you're going to get. And that's why some electric guitars will sound better with some amplifiers than others. And your own personal sound on an electric guitar takes time to develop because your sense of what sounds good to you is personal. And so in this way, it's a little tricky for one person to recommend to another, you should buy this guitar and put it with this amp and set it this way, because your own sense of sound is going to direct you. So be careful with, getting advice from other guitar players is great, and they'll tell you, like, I like to play this guitar with this amplifier and I like to set it this way. But always be willing to experiment and try and find the sound that speaks to you. The relationship with the guitar and the amplifier, in a very basic sense, happens by the magnetic pickups picking up the sound, transmitting it through an instrument cable and into an amplifier. And then once you're in the amplifier, there's all sorts of processes that happen before the sound makes it to the speakers. And there are two basic kinds of amplifiers. There are what are called solid state, which have a circuit board and are entirely circuit board based. And there are tube amplifiers, which use vacuum tubes to process the sound. Now, electric guitar purists will tell you the only kind of good amplifier is a tube amplifier. And in a sense, what they're talking about is, most classic recordings you've heard of, especially early rock and roll, are all on tube amplifiers because that's all that existed. And the tubes give a warmth to the sound and a little bit of natural compression, and they sound quite beautiful. The downside with tube amplifiers, it's a little harder to control the sound because the more you put gain through the tubes, the more they distort. And so you have to have the right amount of wattage for the kind of place, the kind of room you're playing in order to control the sound. So my personal preference is I like to play what's called a hybrid amp, which has a tube section, but the power is solid state. Because the kind of performing that I do, I have to play sometimes in big, huge, large outdoor shows, and I also have to sometimes play quietly. And I want to be able to control my tone so that I can have whatever level of distortion or clean sound I want at any volume.